Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another exciting, thrilling, action-packed edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, and today it is March 5th, 2020, and we are going to be talking about the greatest sport on earth. The sport of kings, the human game of chess that we all know and love, called professional wrestling. Gonna talk about all sorts of stuff that happened this week. It nonetheless, I saw a lot of people say, "Oh, slow week in wrestling." It didn't feel like a slow week. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm glad to be here to talk about it with everyone, all of you here this evening. Right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Yes, this evening. Yes, I'm talking about this evening because I record these live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So that means that I have live people joining me live here in the chat. And looks, the chat is already filled to the brim with people popping in, saying hello, discussing already. Look at this. We have JPQ of the No Particular Angle podcast, who's here. Robert Larry, classic Robert Larry is here as well. Jay Kearns, how you doing? Patrick Mason is here as well. D-Generation MC. Ben, the mod. Ben is here as well. Throwback 27, how you doing? Aaron J's fan is here as well. Thomas Gories is here. Pot of Honor, hello. Nicole Silver, how you doing, Nicole? Daniel Hayes, Bobarooski as well. Nick Wolf and Timothy Farley. Jesus! Look at all these people deciding to take some time. And Tim just popped in. How you doing, Tim? All of you coming here on a Thursday evening to hear me talk about wrestling. It's an extremely humbling situation, and I appreciate it a great deal. And it's a great chat, folks. It's a fantastic chat. If you ever have the opportunity, the chance, you have a slow Thursday night, and you're like, hey, what can I do? Oh, I'll pop on to YouTube and go hang out with Warren, watch Warren and hang out in his chat. Do so. It's a great chat with some very respectful discussions. Look, I've been in my fair share of wrestling chat rooms and discussion boards over my 20 some years of existence on earth. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I got to tell you, I'm very proud of my chat room. I'm very proud of the people who hang out here. it makes me proud to have such a quality room here. So you should come check it out if you have a chance. And if you can't, that's all right as well, because you can watch this live on YouTube anytime you want. And if you are watching live or whenever, do consider giving the video a thumbs up. That always helps. It's a really simple way to help grow the show, get some support going. And you can also listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show on your favorite podcast application, because it's available there. There's a very good chance that it's available there. So just go right ahead and do it. If you prefer that, if you prefer to listen to my voice as opposed to looking at me, which I understand, I can barely look at myself. And yes, that was a little moment of self-loathing, but if you are listening on your podcast, favorite podcast application, do consider giving us a review, a like, a subscription, whatever you have to do to show some love over there as well. All that stuff helps. Look at that. Carlos is here as well. Matthew Ricochet is here as well. It just doesn't stop. And I'm out of breath just thinking of everyone here tonight. But I do appreciate everyone showing up here this evening and listening on whatever at your own leisure as well. That's the beauty of everything here. And if you are here live and you want to show a little extra support to your boy Warren, well, you can drop a super chat and I will read online live for everyone to hear. And it will be encapsulated into the ether for all eternity then. And we'll read your statement or question online here. And Nick Wolf, just like Nick Wolf did, just saying thanks for making my Thursday night a great night. Thank you, Nick. You make my Thursday night great by showing up. And all of you do. Just like Blaine is here, the world's most handsome mod. Good to see you again, Blaine. So you can support me that way. I also have a Patreon, right? Patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. Every Thursday night after this show here, I do a post show over there. And tonight on Warren is Off the Clock. Oh, look at that. Look at the perfect timing for those of you watching live. Just as the banner switches to Warren is Off the Clock, which is the post stream, I will be talking about the WWE Hall of Fame a little more, since JBL has been announced as an inductee. And I'm also going to talk about the Exalted One. I'm going to talk about Jake Roberts. I'm going to talk about Matt Hardy, Brody Lee, all these, Lance Archer, all these parts that seem to be coming together in AEW. If you want to talk about here, if you want to join me over there, much more chill, we take some time to talk, very interactive with the chat. Come on over. It's a good time. But at patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes, that's the $5 tier. You can go check that out. I'm also going to be very busy this weekend as well. As you know, there is a WWE pay-per-view. What am I saying? As Aaron J's fan said a little earlier in the chat, get us hyped for an Elimination Chamber. How? Did you guys even know there was a pay-per-view this weekend for WWE? There was one last week. I'm pretty sure you heard about that one. There's one this Sunday. But yes, I will be doing a prediction show on Saturday morning. I will be doing it with Tony from Get the Tables, who is going to be joining me again. Tony's a great guy. If you don't know about Get the Tables, by God, those guys are great. Tony's a fantastic dude. Does a lot of live watch-alongs with Impact. Look, he's going to be joining me on Saturday morning. So come and listen. Come and listen to us there. It will not be live, however. It will be available as a premiere, so the live chat will be available. I will be in the live chat, so we can talk about stuff. But it won't be a live recording. It will be a plain old-fashioned pre-recording, but it'll still be exciting. So Saturday morning, probably around 12 noon, I'd say, it will be out. And then a little later on in the day, I'll be doing a post show for the women acting badly pay-per-view from Pro Wrestling Eve. I'll be doing a post show for that late afternoon, early evening. Show starts at 3 p.m. Eastern. So once that's done, probably around 6 o'clock, I'd say, I will be showing up for a live recap of women behaving badly. My acting, though. Women behaving badly. We got Jazzy Gabert challenging Rhea O'Reilly for the Eve Championship. It's going to be a good one. Going to be a real good one. So there you go. Tim Trevor left us a super chat. Thank you, Tim. Says, I got the best birthday gift. Mr. Warren Hayes. Is this your birthday today, Tim? Everybody put a birthday emoji in the chat. A cake, a gift, one of those little ta-da things for our boy Tim, friend of the show. Show him some love. It's fantastic. Fantastic. So, and of course, I'm going to be over on Fightful tomorrow evening for some post SmackDown stuff with Sean Ross Sapp. So that'll be exciting. And if you want to get yourself some Warren Hayes merch, it's still at tinyurl.com/Warren Shop. There's a t-shirt there. It's fantastic. All right. We got some stuff to talk about tonight. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the weekly wrestling inspection. Once again, thank you very much, Ben, for the theme of the weekly wrestling inspection. Ben Parizet from the chat, faithful supporter of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Thank you very much. Let's get to it. Let's start giving out some cool beans to begin this one off, to get this one off the ground. Let's get this one rolling. Just a few thoughts on AEW Revolution. I have a full post show over on Fightful that I did with Jeff Hawkins last Saturday, immediately after the show. AEW Revolution was one of the best hyped, best built pay-per-views in recent memory. Yes, I will even say that it was better built than Wrestle Kingdom. I don't remember a complete card from top to bottom, which I was more excited to watch than AEW Revolution, and it was a fantastic show. Remarkably good show. Everything ruled except the women's match. Everything ruled on the card. Of course, the AEW Tag Team Championship match was... Look, I'm going to talk about it a little later. But it was mind-blowingly good. It was such a great match. Cody versus MJF was also very good. We had the tattoo. The tattoo! My God! I mean... Cody is a handsome man. What's this? Doesn't he have... He's got... My God! But aside from the tattoo, I was a little torn on the match, to be perfectly, and it wasn't a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. It was well done. And I feel like it avoided a lot of Cody Rhodes match pratfalls as well. But it did. I don't feel like it built up really. Like the match was as emotionally invested as it should have been, considering all the... Like, it didn't feel like a grudge match to me. And the blood, and Jeff Hawkins pointed it out on Saturday, said the blood was undeserved. You know, it should have happened later in the match with much more violence attached to it. I'm just torn about the match. It was, like, objectively it was good, but I don't know, it just didn't live up to that very, very high standard, I guess. Allen versus Guevara was a short, punchy match, which was fantastic, full of high spots, and it ruled. Pac versus Orange Cassidy was outstanding, but what are you going to do? You have Pac, who is one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, versus Orange Cassidy, who can absolutely go. Everyone who was look at them putting Pac into a comedy angle. Great comedy angle. We just had a match that absolutely ruled again. I loved also the spot where Pac decided to play along with the soft shin kicks. And I was like, I find a lot of pleasure in Pac versus Orange Cassidy, because a lot of wrestling purists out there have a tendency to see Pac as this untouchable, very serious wrestler, and to put him with Orange Cassidy and deliver great matches like that, there's something very satisfying in that. I dug it. I really, really, really liked the match. I thought it was great stuff. And we also had Colt Cabana have his AEW debut in Chicago, which was really smart. I thought Revolution was real good. And honestly, just between us, okay? Don't go tell all the AEW stands, okay? I thought this was their best pay-per-view so far. I liked it better than Double or Nothing. I really did. I liked it better than All Out. It was really good. It was a super strong effort. Main event was fun. Look, it was a great pay-per-view. Great stuff. Let's move on. We're gonna keep giving some cool beans just before we start getting to the real bad stuff. A build to Daniel Bryan versus Drew Gulak, folks, is something that I was not expecting in 2020, and that I can ultimately 100% get behind. Drew Gulak is a fantastic wrestler. We know how great Daniel Bryan can be. They're leaning back into Drew Gulak's more scientific, goofy personality, but it's working really well. I like the angle that they're running with Drew Gulak bringing up smaller guys and saying, hey, you know what? I figured out a way to beat Daniel Bryan, and sending them out to pasture and then defeating them. I fully expect him tomorrow on Friday to be like, you know what? None of you jabronis can get the job done, so I'm going to show you how it's done. I have the ticket to defeat Daniel Bryan, and we'll get a match at Elimination Chamber. And honestly, it for all intents and purposes, it should rule. It should rule. There's no reason why Drew Gulak versus Daniel Bryan should stink. It is going to be a great match. Looking forward to it, and it's not something I was expecting this year. I'm going to tell you that much. Something else I wasn't expecting this year was Bill Goldberg being Universal Champion again. My God. And we're getting Roman Reigns versus Bill Goldberg. The match that nobody asked for is what we're getting at WrestleMania this year. And WWE thinks they're being clever here, saying, oh, well, yeah, of course everyone's going to boo Goldberg because no one wants to see Goldberg here, so we're going to put Roman Reigns in this position here. They seem to think that, in the case of Roman Reigns, that the Baron Corbin feud did him some kind of favor, that it did some kind of great, it helped elevate him, that he's now like this untouchable baby face. My God, listen to my voice. Roman Reigns deserves better than everything he is getting and has received since coming back to SmackDown, or coming back, actually landing on SmackDown. He had a pretty good return coming back from cancer. He had his angle with Daniel Bryan. He had that severely underappreciated tag team match with, well, that's it, with Daniel Bryan and wasn't it Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan, and he was teaming with The Undertaker? Wasn't that the match, or was it it wasn't the Bludgeon Brothers? I'm drawing a blank. But that match, his tag team match that he had with The Undertaker, was really solid. Why are they putting Roman in these positions with very uninspired and dull creative that makes us feel cynical about the WWE product? Because we see what they're doing. It's so transparent. No one wants to see Goldberg in this position, and I don't want to see Goldberg wrestle, and I don't want to see Roman Reigns wrestle Goldberg at WrestleMania. I want Roman Reigns to have a creatively fulfilling feud with someone in a match that he can sink his teeth into. He's a young guy still. He can go. He can deliver in ways that we're not used to seeing him deliver anymore because they don't let him wrestle. And Goldberg this week, did you see his interview on The Bump? Was it The Bump? The Rap? The Wing Wop? The Black Strange? The Glingbluk? Whatever it is they call it. He's like, where he's basically saying, I'm Goldberg. I can still go at 53 years old. No, you can't, Bill. No, you can't. Bill Goldberg, you never could go. You're not known for your work rate, Bill. You're a guy who has been known to injure people out of their careers, like Bret Hart. You're a sloppy worker. You've always been a sloppy worker, and you're a sloppier worker at 53. You couldn't even pull off a goddamn jackhammer when you're winning the Universal title at a pay-per-view a couple of weeks ago. And I'd like to see you do what I do at 53. Minoru Suzuki says hi, you son of a bitch. I am so over this Goldberg stuff. And anyone, I swear to God, anyone who comes to you, to me, and says Goldberg was huge, yeah, what are you talking about? Yes, he was a star. He was an attraction. He was enormous. I can't argue that. He was a big attraction, but he was a guy who just arrived at the right place at the right time with the right look and got the right push behind him. Bill Goldberg came right out of the power plant, started wrestling on Nitro, green, and he stayed green. You just have to go back and look. Anyone who went to expose that, like William Regal, got fired from the company. And we're expecting 53-year-old Goldberg to have a proper match with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is not going to come out of this unscathed, and I'm not saying that Bill Goldberg's going to injure him. I'm talking about Roman Reigns' character, his presence. This is not going to do him any favors. Again, I don't understand what they're doing here. Let's move on to some warm soda then. Okay, that's it. I'm not going on 28 minutes again talking about Goldberg, folks, tonight. I promise. That happens once a month. Once every 30 days. Yeah, let's talk about some warm soda just before the end of Aleister Black's. Where's the warm? I thought I pulled it up. There we go. The end of Aleister Black's streak. It's a bummer because I think there was something there. I think there's definitely something that WWE creative could have used to help get Aleister over more if they started putting emphasis on it. There was no real emphasis put on the undefeated streak, his undefeated single streak, because they decided not to, which baffles me because a winning streak is something that is easily identifiable, that everyone can get behind. We understand the story of a winning streak because then the story becomes who gets to beat the winning streak. And it would have helped Aleister get over. It just would have got people excited to even more to see Aleister Black matches and see, well, where are they going with this? But no, they pulled the trigger on it and they had, well, essentially all of the OC defeat him. And look, it took 3 people to end the streak. All right. And I understand why they did it. For AJ Styles, it's setting up a match at Elimination Chamber, and it's also to help get AJ Styles over with the audience as well. Keep him strong is what I'm trying to say. He's already over. Trying to keep him strong for his inevitable match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania. So all that's, like, I understand the booking, which is why I'm very ambivalent, that's why I have the warm soda up, because I'm not quite sure it's a good idea, but it's not an entirely bad idea either. It goes both ways on this one. We're going to head back to some hot trash now, folks. Did you, there was a spider. There was a spider on Raw. Because it turns out that what was in Eric Rowan's cage was a big spider. Now, we knew. I'm not going to recap it. You've seen it. You've seen the GIFs, if anything. You know what happened. There's a big mechanical spider. He pulls out a big mechanical spider, which frightens all of No Way Jose's conga line, and No Way Jose as well. They all just like... we all knew from the start, right, that WWE had painted itself into a corner with this angle. We knew they already did, because we all said to ourselves, there's no way that the payoff to this is going to be interesting. But this was actually, I think this is dumber than what I was expecting. This is dumber. Because they actually expect us. And here's the thing that's mind-boggling the most here, folks, is that they actually expected us to be like, hey, that's a real spider. This is what they expect. That's the reaction they expected from us. Because they had other people run away in fear. So we're like, oh, look at that big... But it was clearly mechanical. It was built up for nothing. For us to be like, ooh, spooky spider. But they could have done anything at this point. And this is the reveal they decide to pull off. Just a $35 animatronic spider that they picked up at Spirit Halloween. It's stupid. And it's insulting. They call in Tom frickin' Savini to design the Fiend's mask and his look. Why couldn't they have called his special effects team to come up with something cool for this? It's so insignificant, but it's also such an underscoring testament of hotshot booking that WWE does, that have no planning, where it's like, let's toss him out with a cage and then we'll see what happens. This is it. This is proof positive. And like I said, it's an undercard angle that ultimately doesn't affect us in any way, we're just going to look in 5 years when we start recapping the worst angles that we've seen of the half decade. This is one that we're going to pull out and we're going to laugh at. But this is where we are with WWE again. It's proof right here that they don't plan, they don't think things out, they don't sit down and prepare themselves. And then the reactions we get is, well, why do you expect, Warren? It's WWE. No, I'm telling you, why would we settle for less? Why? Why should we as fans settle for insulting conclusions like this, where a clear toy spider is put in the hands of a guy and we're supposed to be like, yeah, that looks like a real spider? How are we supposed to feel like that? Why should we accept this? WWE has lowered our standards and our expectations. It's on them. And I'm not okay with saying, well, that's WWE. No, because I expect them to do better, because they are the biggest wrestling promotion in the world, because they're a $1 billion company, because they have a writer's room. They have people who work on props. They have hundreds of people who are on tour, who put these TV shows together every week. Yes, I expect WWE to do better, and I want WWE to do better, because I want to be treated like a fan. I want to be rewarded for watching. This is not the way that you reward your fans for watching and giving a shit about what you do. Because if you don't care about your angles and you end them like this, why would we as fans continue to care? You reap what you sow, essentially. And I'm tired of not caring. I'm tired of being in positions where I end up not caring because the company doesn't care themselves. All that because of a mechanical spider. God damn it. What are we doing next here? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's go for some cool beans then. Let's talk about Beth Phoenix. I want to run this one down because this was so good. And this is the crazy ass dichotomy in WWE. You'll have Goldberg, you'll have the Spider, but then you'll have Randy Orton and Beth Phoenix. He comes to the ring as Beth tries to give us an update on Edge. He comes in for a hug. She stonewalls him, a shake. She no-sells the handshake as well. She calls him a son of a bitch. She said she's here because she needs a husband and their kids need a father. And Randy says that Edge will never wrestle again. And he says he owes Beth an explanation. And did you listen to this explanation? How fantastic it was. Goes back to 1999 as a young 19-year-old kid coming to Raw with his father, Bob Orton Jr. And he's going around introducing Randy to all the stars. And he remembers Edge is the only guy who went up to Bob Orton, shook his hand and said, "Sir, I respect you and you're one of the reasons I got into the business." And Edge wished good luck to Randy. And he said years later, this always stuck with me. And years later, we're touring the world, tearing the house down for the Intercontinental title. We do the rated RKO thing. We become champions. And then he said, then I got into a really dark period in my life. And who was there to pull me out of that hole? It was Edge. That's all I did was super poor decisions. And Edge was the guy who dragged me out of the hole. And he says, I'm returning the favor because Edge, I know he's addicted to these fans here, but his injury, you want a husband, your daughters want a father. Ooh, I'm making sure he never wrestles again because he loves Edge, he loves Beth, and he loves his daughters. And he blames Beth for Edge coming back to the ring, calling her an enabler. Jesus Christ. Beth slaps him, Randy gives her an RKO, and that is how you deliver a main event segment. You guys know I'm not a fan of those. I'm not a fan of shows starting with a segment. I'm less a fan of main event segments, but if you're gonna do one, by God, you give it importance and sincerity and truth and authenticity. There's the word I was looking for. That's what you give it. Right here, just like we got on Monday. And we praise AEW for their fantastic, for the great people they have on promo. Cody's extraordinary promos that he cut. Same thing with NWA, where they're letting the wrestlers cut their promos. This was Randy Orton cutting a promo. I can't even begin to think that this was scripted. I can't even believe Randy Orton getting a script and being like, yeah, okay, let me memorize these lines here. Could you imagine that? There is no way. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If WWE were to take this type of route with its promo work, let its wrestlers be wrestlers and cut their own promos instead of having to chew through those awful scripted promos line per line that they do, WWE would be unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. If I only had one nitpick, because I have to have at least one. I kind of found it weird that everyone got suddenly so concerned when Beth took an RKO. Beth is a wrestler. She's trained to deliver and take offense. She's bumped before. She's not a fragile little porcelain doll here. I'm glad they didn't go all full on stretcher job on her, but Beth she's a tough woman. She's been in the men's battle Royal Rumble before. That part sort of felt a little off for me with everyone coming, oh my God, and then like this shroud of concern. As Beth is a wrestler, she's always been a wrestler. She's been introduced as a wrestler. She took a bump. She ate a finisher. I'm okay with that. There's no need to be like, yes, it was a dick move because Randy Orton's a dick. And my God, he's so good. Oh my God, he's so good. Like Andrew Nally left me a super chat, generous super chat. Thank you, Andrew. He says, this is my favorite version of Orton since the Legend Killer. And that promo was an instant classic. I absolutely agree. This is a late career revival for Randy Orton. And we've seen shades of this. You remember his feud with Jeff Hardy? This is the same kind of energy. This kind of dark, slimy, passive aggressive, not passive aggressiveness, but internal, very aggressive type of Randy Orton. When you remember when he did the thing with the ear with Jeff, which was it's the same type of energy, and we dug him back then, and then they sort of let him cool down, and then we'll do it again. I like this a lot. I really, really like this a lot. Right now, Orton versus Edge is the reason to watch WrestleMania so far. It's going to be full of story. I'm really, really excited for it. Cyclops is better than Wolverine. Welcome to the chat, despite the fact that your username is a lie. Okay, let's keep moving here. Let's keep giving out some cool beans here. Jake the Snake Roberts, in case you're wondering who Jake Roberts is. He showed up on AEW Dynamite last night. Cody's in the ring. Cody's is about to get NJF to come out because he lost, and he's about to be like, and Jake Roberts comes out, tells him to stop his whining. He got his ass whooped, and I'm like, oh, okay, so here we have a legend who's gonna come and tell Cody to, toughen up, youngster. But no, that is not at all what happened. You have Jake Roberts saying that he's here to slay Cody. He calls him Caesar, and he's here to slay him. Says he has a client, and the dark side will come to AEW once their roots take control, and the Phoenix will rise from the ashes. He says it's taken him 20 years to get clean, and he's earned the right to do this, and he won't be playing nice. He doesn't want a share of the pie. He wants Cody's share of the pie. This was fantastic stuff. Completely unexpected. Completely out of the blue. I don't think... Did you guys see this coming? I didn't see this coming. And it was done in a way that I did not expect either. I think it's going to be a great way to use Jake moving forward. We don't know what exactly his role is going to be. I'm going to talk about that on the post show. But here's one thing I do want to touch on. And I don't like to talk ill about the wrestling journalists, wrestling pundits. There are lots of people out there who do that, and to me, it's not my thing. But I have to point out Dave Meltzer's comments about Roberts' return or showing up on AEW. That he had some comments about it on Observer Radio today. And Meltzer just went right in when he talking about, he basically saying AEW didn't have, amazing wrestling. There were a lot of stories, and Jake Roberts show up, and then he goes right in asking, has anyone booked Jake Roberts and hasn't regretted it? And he says, hopefully he's changed. Hopefully. Because, he was a drunk. He was a crack addict. Hopefully he's changed by now. Because there's no evidence that he's sober. It's good for him if he is, but, we don't know. Oh, then Brian Alvarez says, but I saw him at a show. He did a live show, and it was in a full bar, and he didn't drink. Well, good for him, I guess. Because he's had so many relapses in the past. Maybe he's turned over a new leaf. And then they start going on. But why would they bring him in as a manager? It's so weird. He's such a big guy. You put him next to Brody Lee or Lance Archer, and they're not going to look that big next to Jake. He's too big to be a manager. And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? If this is motivated by some kind of weird agenda, if you can't say, my God, Jake Roberts, the road that this man has taken to get to where he is now has been full of obstacles and twists and turns. He's worked so damn hard to keep himself sober. Shouldn't we, instead of casting shadows and questioning his integrity right out of the gate, shouldn't we, as human beings, be in a position where to be like, look, why not let him have a proper redemption run? Give him one last good run where he probably could give a nice little final sheen to his legacy. I don't think that a man like Jake Roberts wants to be remembered as the guy that we saw in the wrestling documentaries, in the DDP yoga stuff. Maybe not necessarily that's how he wants to cap off his career, his legacy. Why not give him the benefit of the doubt? And I don't understand what Meltzer's thing here was. Because at not a single moment did he say, good to see Jake Roberts back in the ring, good to see him straight, talk, and being coherent and clear. No. He just dove right into, well, you know, people regretted booking him for years. That's something I just can't get behind. That's really, really agenda driven. And there's something pernicious here that Dave wanted to make sure got across. I'm not quite sure what his story was there. But when Sean and Alex and I talked about it last night on the Wednesday night recap, we all said, it's good to see Jake Roberts back in a ring. It's good to see him in his element. We'll never know if he can do it, if he can keep flying straight, if we don't give him a try. And a redemption run, I believe in. I believe everyone deserves other chances. I definitely do. More cool beans here, just as a quick one. We got some squash matches. On AEW last night, which it's something I've talked about before. Not every match on AEW needs to be a 10 to 15 minute competitive match, especially when it comes to the women's division where you're trying to build stars. This is how you build stars. You have them come in, show the audience who your dominant stars are going to be, make us understand who we're supposed to get behind, who we're supposed to cheer, give them matches where they'll just dominate and win the lesser competition. And that's how we go. That's how it starts. They did it with Jake Hager. They did it with Big Swole. Two extremely solid candidates, by the way, for squash matches. Big Swole, her whole thing is about power offense. Let her squash Leva Bates. I'm okay with that. Jake Hager's the same thing. It's all about his mixed martial arts training, being a big, tough son of a bitch. QT Marshall's a jobber. That's fine. That's his job. I'm okay with it. And it just establishes the characters, makes us understand who we're supposed to get behind, gives a little shine. Perfect stuff. Hopefully this is something they continue to do. And I thought they were well placed in the evening as well. I thought the AEW last night was really well paced as well. That was some good stuff. And finally, Christ, the main event. The main event was so good. It was so much good. And the main event started with the opening segment, right? The stipulation with where Jericho's saying, I may take the next 30. If you, John Moxley, if you're in our tag team match later this evening, if you are able to walk out of the building, I'm going to take a leave of absence. I'm going to take 30 days. Nay, I will take 60 days leave of absence. And everyone's like, oh, he's going on tour with Fozzy. And that was the thing. It was such a it was a swerve for the smart fans. A subtle one, but still a swerve for the smart fans. Because as he was saying that, People in the audience were chanting, Fozzy sucks. Look, it was the same thing when he was in WWE. When Fozzy would go on tour, he'd be written off WWE TV until the tour was over. But anyone who checked the dates would have realized that there were no Fozzy dates booked on Wednesday nights. There wasn't. This was so good. It was so good. It was such a great little swerve there. The Inner Circle take out Mox during the main event. And it, again, another match that helped to make Darby Allin. They continue to build Darby Allin as a megastar. Guevara was so good. Quick and forceful strikes, bringing out the best in Allin during this match, because Allin had to fight all by himself. Mox had been taken out to pasture, and he was completely out of it. Jericho doing his best to be a fantastic heat magnet, Darby fought from beneath the entire match. Everything he did was perfect. His self-hot tag was the greatest thing I've seen in the past month. It was so good. He comes in with some quick strikes, a code red, and a coffin drop to the outside. It wasn't enough, though. He tosses Jericho to the outside, goes for a suicide dive, and Jericho just plants him with the Judas effect as Darby is diving. That is some sick, sick stuff. I loved it. Mox comes back, eats a shield bomb through the table to lay him out. Chris Jericho's not going anywhere. This ruled. AEW is so good these days. My God. No, it wasn't the greatest evening of wrestling, but it was a post AEW. It was a post pay-per-view show that started establishing all sorts of new little stories. God damn, I liked it. I love that main event. It was really good. Well, there you have it, folks. That was this week's edition of the Weekly Wrestling Inspection. So hey. If you're still watching live right now, why don't you give the video a thumbs up here on YouTube if you haven't already, especially if you're enjoying it, especially if you enjoy hearing me rant about Goldberg. One like equals one more minute of me ranting against Goldberg. And or four, he might do something. He might do something right. And you can always drop a super chat anytime you want, and I will read your question, statement, your words live here. Live. There's one thing that I haven't talked about in the Weekly Wrestling Inspection that I'm pretty sure a lot of you were expecting me to talk about, and that I didn't touch on because I wanted to give it its own special segment here. I wanted to talk about Ricochet and what's been happening over the past couple of weeks, essentially. Ricochet going into Super Showdown to challenge Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. He gets squooshed. Like it wasn't even one of these matches that Brock is able to have with smaller guys that we've seen him have with Daniel Bryan, with Finn Balor, with AJ Styles. No. This was a proper squoosh. Can you imagine getting on a plane, flying to goddamn Saudi Arabia, and everything that entails, and you're told when you get there, we're going to job you out in 4 minutes. I hope it's worth the money, man. And then he comes back on Monday to fight Riddick Moss for the 24/7 title. And he loses to Riddick Moss in a 24/7 title championship match. Now, I'm familiar with Ricochet's posts pre WWE work. I've seen stuff. Yes, I've seen the Ospreay stuff. I've seen things that he's done in PWG. Yes, I saw his Lucha Underground stuff as well. His New Japan stuff. He's had matches against Liger. Good matches against Liger. The Kristen Ashley in the chat, how you doing? The problem that I have moving forward is when I tweet this out, and I basically say out into the ether, and this is something I sincerely believe, WWE, Ricochet is poised to become the next Sami Zayn, where WWE ends up having in its hands a very, very special, very unique talent who can do absolutely remarkable things. Things, honest to God, that a human body shouldn't be able to do. This is the kind of talent that Ricochet is as far as athleticism goes. Maybe on another level than Sami Zayn. They're not the same type of athlete, but Sami's a hell of a wrestler. He always has been an incredible wrestler. And they get their hands on them and they don't know how to use them. And they squander exceptionally talented professional wrestlers for whatever reason. Now, our reflex, when I tweet this out and I have people going, the main response that I get to this is that, well, WWE fans don't get it. But WWE fans don't watch PWG or New Japan, or they don't watch the other stuff. They're just laser focused on WWE. And I understand the sentiment, but I also refuse to fall into a narrative that WWE fans are stupid for some reason. Because I've been a WWE fan all my life, and I don't consider myself stupid. Although some people might argue against that. But because there's too much of that narrative going around, is that WWE fans don't understand what pro wrestling is. They're stupid. They're laser focused. They don't look outside of stuff. And it's not unreasonable to say, well, someone is just going to watch one wrestling promotion because that's all they know, or because they do enjoy it, or because, they just don't have time or whatever. It's not unreasonable to think that someone would just watch one professional wrestling promotion, and WWE being it. So the question I pose unto you, listeners, watchers, fans, well-wishers, gals and guys, is are the fans really the problem? Or is WWE creative the problem? Because if WWE fans aren't seeing the Ricochet that I know and that a lot of you watching and listening right now do know, if they're not seeing it, it's not Ricochet's fault and it's not the fans' fault. It's WWE that's not letting Ricochet do Ricochet things. They're not letting him perform to his strengths. They're letting him come in, do a couple of flips. But, a lot of guys can do flips. A lot of guys can do some spectacular aerial moves. Humberto Carrillo is a guy that comes to mind. He can do that. And it's also one of the problems that he has is that he doesn't connect well with the audience because, I don't know, he just doesn't have anything special that makes him stand out. So if you take Ricochet just on that face level there, what makes him special? Well, he can do shit that Humberto Carrillo can't do. And if you were to let him being Ricochet, if you were to let him fly, literally fly, people would go nuts. But no, this is what WWE decides to do. They decide to stick a microphone in his face and have him cut those corny, cheesy ass promos. And Ricochet's promo work has never been one of his strengths. It's never been one of his strengths. And that's one of the arguments that WWE fans come then is like, well, he stinks on the mic. Yes, he does. I wouldn't say stinks. He's not very good. He's stiff. Wooden. Not terrible. Not awful, but well, in WWE you need to have proper mic skills to push forward to become a star. That's just how WWE works. Well, maybe, I'm just throwing this out there, seeing that live attendance is going down, seeing that the ratings are going down, merch sales aren't what they used to, maybe then it's time to say, you know what, maybe we need to try some different things. Sure, you can get the top tier talkers and have them do their thing, but does everyone really need to talk? Does everyone really need to be a master on the microphone to make it in WWE? I would argue not. I would argue that many, many times, just as we saw with the Andrade Angel Garza versus Rey Mysterio Humberto Carrillo match on Monday, you don't need to have hours of mic work built up to create exciting moments in the ring that people will get behind. People ultimately come to watch a wrestling show. They want to see wrestling. They want to see athletics. They want to see death-defying stuff. They want to see people punch the hell out of each other without really legitimately punching the hell out of each other. Maybe it's time for WWE to just rethink how they do things. I can get behind the idea that maybe Ricochet isn't world championship material in WWE. Maybe, but that doesn't mean that he needs to be completely brushed aside. Because honest to God, he is way too special a talent for this. To be jobbing out to Riddick Moss, just like Mojo Rawley. Because that's essentially it. Mojo Rawley was jobbed out to Riddick Moss. And, I can't help but observe at the same time that look at this, look who's on the top at the top of the card here again. Not many people of color in the upper card anymore. I can't help but notice that. Tried doing stuff with Cedric. Cedric's been tossed on to main event. Where's Mustafa Ali been? The point here, regardless of the socio-political implications of this, the point here is that it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. When I was saying that, when people sort of shrug, lift their hands and like, well, that's WWE for you. That's how it works. It hasn't been really working for WWE, has it? They're about to shut down the network because they can't get the subscribers to rise, right? There's rumors that they want to sell it away. Like I said, most of their business is stagnant or on a downturn. Maybe it's time to change approaches. Maybe it's time to try new things. Maybe the old things used to work well, but maybe today's audience wants something else. And there's no harm in trying. Just like you tried to have Ricochet do promos and be good at promos, you could also try to let Ricochet go out there, not cut promos, and dazzle us with his strengths, which are all wrestling related. There you go. Let's move on to our last segment this evening. Gonna talk about, this is something new that I want to do once we're going to, this is something new I want to do. I want to talk about my favorite matches of the month. I realize when it's time for everyone to sort of gather around and talk at the end of the year and talk about their favorite matches, I have the memory of a parakeet. Like I remember some things, but it's like if I don't write stuff down, it'll just flow out of my mind. So I'm like, what I'm going to do is now moving forward is whenever I see a match I like, whenever I get into something that I enjoy, I'm going to write it down. I got notes. I'm just going to take a few notes down and say, I really like this match right here. And then I'm going to talk about it at the start of a new month. I'm going to talk about my favorite matches of the past month. So tonight, you are going to get, ladies and gentlemen, folks, my list of favorite matches of February 2020. And I hope you in the chat chime in. Let us know. Talk about it. Talk about your favorite matches of 2020. If you're not in the live chat right now, let's say you're on YouTube, add some comments. Let's get this discussion going. We were spoiled, if you ask me, in February with a plethora of fantastic matches. And I'm going to go right ahead, kick this one off here. I'm going to start talking about February 9th, New Beginning in Osaka, Hiromu Takahashi versus Ryu Lee, their first singles match together since Takahashi's return from injury. It was for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Christ, the chop fest at first was insane. They went for 36 seconds at first nonstop, but they just dragged it out. And it was so good. This is what it was about. It was two guys just looking to hurt each other. There was a tease for the Phoenix Plex, which is the move that Ryu Lee used on Hiromu that broke his neck and took him out for well over a year and put his career in peril. That was nuts. That suicide dive. I think people are in the chat talking about it, right? Yeah, exactly. The tease for the Phoenix Plex, the Ryu Lee sitting Takahashi up on the barricade. Remember that? And he going back into the ring and doing a suicide dive, and he just flew like a missile, like right onto Takahashi, over the table, into the commentary area. It was nuts. It was really, really, really nuts. I loved it. I loved this match from top to bottom, and it was a very different match than what these guys usually wrestle. It was just crazy. This was a great, great match. So was Jon Moxley versus Minoru Suzuki from that exact same card. That was crazy. That was crazy. It was when I was thinking about a match between Jon Moxley and Minoru Suzuki, I was like, and this was for the IWGP US Championship, by the way. When I was thinking about a match between the both of these two fine, outstanding citizens, this was exactly what I had in mind. And you know what? It even went a little beyond. This was so good. It started out on the ramp with Suzuki and Moxley swinging chairs at each other. They brawled into the audience. Mox whips himself into the barricade, like literally bouncing off the barricade like he's bouncing off the ropes, with the sliding clothesline. Mox gets a table out. Suzuki goes to get a chair from the English commentator. I will remember this. Suzuki gets in the zone where he's like, "Ah!" And he's going bananas, and he goes to commentary to get a chair, and Kevin Kelly just sits. He's there, and he's going, "That's it. We're dead. We're dead." It was so good. Suzuki, he works Moxley's arm. Mox power bombs him through a table, and Suzuki is smiling. He's laughing the whole way. My goodness, this was so brutal and good. The build was fantastic. Everything worked in this match. I can't wait to see what they keep doing with Mox here, because now Zack Sabre Jr. is coming. Look, New Beginning in Osaka for February 9th. That was outstanding stuff. You know what else was outstanding? Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic from TakeOver Portland. My God. You know when they say, hey, this match was all spots, it was high spots, it was all high spots. This was it. But with two guys who aren't supposed to do high spots. Look, and I'm familiar with their PWG work. I've seen the Battle of Los Angeles 2016, 2017. I know what these guys can do together. This is like, I think it's their fourth match in NXT that they've had together, something like that. There was no doubt that this was going to be good, but it still pulled off stuff to surprise us. They worked a really hectic pace. The springboard swanton from Dijakovic on in the chair was nuts. Lee reverses out of a spirit bomb, but Dijak gets back up. You get an avalanche Spanish fly. My God, this match. It was so good. And I even like the finish. I love the finish. Dijak tried to lift Lee up, but he couldn't do it, and Lee got reversed out of it and hit the big bang to put him away. This was really, really good. This was so good. Again, from Portland, NXT TakeOver Portland, Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox. These girls worked their asses off. It was such a fantastic match. It was brutal. See, this is the kind of match that I was expecting MJF and Cody to go through. Maybe not as gimmicky, because this was a no DQ match, so there were toys involved. But Kai and Nox have history. They had the grudge here, and that fueled everything in what they did. Everything felt urgent and necessary. Like they had to prove who was the better woman here. There was a cricket bat involved, which got smashed way too early. I have to say, this was really good. It was fantastic. There were knee brace attacks. The toys were used properly, I found. We got Reina Gonzalez coming back as Raquel Gonzalez. To mess things up. It was really good. It was, and you know, they're going back to the well with this again, but you know what? I'm okay with it, because these two women work so well together. They really, really do. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do moving forward with this feud, because it's clearly one that has just that enough antagonism between them both to just pull the trigger on it whenever they need it. This could legitimately turn into a classic women's feud for WWE. I don't see why we couldn't, and all their matches have been really good so far. Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor was something special. It was something special. And I'm going to tell y'all, we've talked about it enough, but NXT Finn Balor, Prince Finn Balor, is remarkable. What a transformation. I mean, did you guys remember before watching this match, just how much of a ground game Finn Balor had? Because he there was a whole sequence of exchanges here that was really, really good. And everything felt required and needed. And here's how I remember this match. I remember this match as being the very definition, and I said it at the start of the show without actually, the definition of the human game of chess line that Gordon Soley used to use. This was exactly it. It was a wrestling strategist's match. This was a wrestling match for wrestling fans, where both guys were trying to outdo each other, outmaneuver each other, getting power moves in, back and forth. I thought it was brilliant. I really thought that it was a brilliant match that I fear is going to get lost in the match of the year candidates when we start getting closer to November, December later this year. But it's a standout for me, and showing that Finn Balor is in his element, that he was one of these wasted talents on main roster. In NXT, he's back to shining like we always knew he could. And then on the flip side, Johnny Gargano continuing to prove that he is one of the best wrestlers in the world. He is incapable of having a bad match. He's not even capable of having a fun match. He always has good to great to excellent matches. I may be biased by saying that, just slightly. Here's one. Alex Shelley versus Ren Narita from Warrior Wrestling 8 on February 15th this year. Warrior Wrestling out of Chicago. They had a really nice, fun card on for Warrior Wrestling 8, and they had Alex Shelley, who had just come off of his NXT run with that one match with Kushida in the Dusty Classic, and Ren Narita, who's using the LA Dojo to tour North America. This was a solid match, and can you imagine Ren Narita, who is very much in learning mode? I love the excursion idea of New Japan and the dojos. The nerds, we talk about it a lot when we start marking out for New Japan, but it really is a smart way to approach your full training as a wrestler, where you're like, look, we're going to teach you how to wrestle in this very, very tough style here in the dojo, and then when you're ready, we're going to kick you out on your ass, and you're going to go around the world, and you're going to learn some new stuff, learning wrestling from other dudes and dudettes wherever you go. And here you go with Alex Shelley, who is one of the all-time greats, who has a lot to give, he's an instructor, he's a teacher on top of that. Can you imagine how great an experience this was for Ren Narita to end up with Alex Shelley performing in a match here? That's invaluable. And you know what? The match was damn good. It was real good. Alex Shelley played the heel. Ren Narita had the crowd in the palm of his hand. Underrated match here. This is one that is going to fall under everyone's radar, but it was really solid stuff. Go check it out if you can. It's on Fight TV. I mean, you can buy the replay if you want. The card was fun. The card was really good. There was all sorts of people on there. Unfortunately, Frank the Clown too. But nonetheless, it was still a fun card. Kenny Omega versus Pac, the 30-minute Iron Man match. AEW Dynamite, February 26th. I mean, this was a quality match. And you know what's great about this? This is the third time that Pac and Kenny Omega fight in AEW, and this was clearly their best match together. They were both on the same page. Everything was clicking. And what I appreciated most out of all of this is that we got to see the Kenny Omega that we all fell in love with in New Japan. We're starting to see him again. Not that iffy guy ever since AEW started. It was sort of like, well, what are they doing? No. He's back. He's back in full force. This set the stage here essentially for the weekend. He wrestled in two classic matches within 5 days of each other, guys and gals. I'm so glad. This match ruled. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. And if you're the kind of fan who's like, AEW. If you're a wrestling fan, you will like this match. You will really, really like this match. Trust me. Just like you have to trust me when I tell you that Omega and Hangman Page versus the Young Bucks from AEW Revolution on February 29th was fantastic. Now, there's not much more I can say that hasn't already been said about the match because I think all the hyperbole is true. It is one of the all-time great tag team matches. Is it the greatest of all time? Because I've seen a lot of people do that. You know what? It'll probably define this generation. Because there's so many fantastic tag team matches that were the greatest of all time for their time. And I'm just thinking about Art Barr and Eddie Guerrero, their tag team match that they had at When Worlds Collide, the AAA pay-per-view of the early 90s. Sean and I reviewed that particular match on a retro review over on Fightful Select if you want to listen to that. That was and still is an outstanding match, and for a long time was considered the greatest tag team match of all time. Does it still hold up today? Not quite as much, but it's still a hell of a match to watch. But by today's standards, you probably wouldn't call it the greatest of all time, but at the time it was. And it should be in the conversation of the greatest tag team matches of all time, just like this one should be. Everything was there, and it has everything I feel that a Young Bucks hater can find to enjoy despite hating the Young Bucks. Because a lot of people who hate the Young Bucks say they can't sell. They don't know psychology. This was anything but. This is the kind of Young Bucks match I dig and that I know they can do. It was so good. And the storytelling, my God, the layers of storytelling. It was all fantastic. It capped off a hell of a month of wrestling. Those were my favorite matches of February 2020. Can't wait to see what March has in store for us. Unless the Kenora virus cancels all of our wrestling, Jesus. We're not getting a New Japan Cup because of the Kenora virus. By God. It's a conspiracy against New Japan. Vince concocted the virus in his laboratories to weed out the competition. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed hanging out with you this evening. Remember, I will be back tomorrow on Fightful for the SmackDown recap. Be sure to join Tony from Get the Tables podcast and I Saturday morning for the premiere of our Elimination Chamber prediction show. Won't be live. Will be a recording, but I will be in the live chat for the premiere when it happens this Saturday. And Saturday late afternoon, early evening, I will be here with a live recap of Women Behaving Badly, the Pro Wrestling Eve event. Rhea O'Reilly defending against Jazzy Gabert. Recently, NXT UK freed from... Oh my God, what kind of sentence was that? Jazzy Gabert recently left NXT UK is what I'm trying to say. So she's getting a shot at the title. Should be a fun time. It's always a fun time when you guys are around. Hope to see you all this weekend. Hope you have a great weekend. And in the meantime, see you next time.